PTF, Nigeria may witness upsurge in virus cases. Federal government releases 50 billion naira to states, FCT to curb pandemic. Government to set up indigenous action. You can get all these details on page 3. The bottom strip stories, Southeast, South-South solidarity threatened. That's coming from Ohaneze in reaction to the Igbo killings. Wike says, I didn't order killing of Igbo by military. Pages 4 and 6. Rates of smoking, quitting. Page 26. Now the stories below the masthead. Lekki shootings. CCTV stopped recording after 8 p.m. Coming from the Lekki Concession Company, LCC, on page 4. 10,000 barriers shot in at the Explosion Rocks OML, that's the oil mining license 40 facility. Boa Cement posts 156.6 billion revenue in 9 months, page 31. EFCC grants ex-FIRS Chair Fowler administrative bail, that's on page 3. And the story is above the masthead. Federal government. Nigeria's debt portfolio to hit 38.68 trillion naira in 2021. Proposes 162 billion naira Sukuk fund for 45 roads. Minister says why they are abandoned road projects. Find out why on page 31. And lastly, from the front page of the New Telegraph on that same page, 2021 budget. Reps stop TCN from executing new projects. New Telegraph for you. And now the Blueprint newspaper. I'll start with the lead story. PTF. Federal government released 50 billion naira to states for COVID-19 fight. Says FCT, Lagos attain 81% testing. Raises concerns over others. Lai explains 19 million naira travel expenditure. Senate kicks, page 5. And now to the picture. Chief of Air Staff Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar standing at the middle. MD, CEO, Family Homes Funds, Mr. Femi Adewale, fourth right. In a group photograph with management staff of the company and some Nigerian Air Force NAF branch chiefs during the presentation of proposed post-service housing scheme for airmen and airwomen at NAF headquarters in Abuja. On page 5, Nigeria's debts to rise from 31 trillion naira to 38.68 trillion naira in December 2021, coming from the finance minister. Army neutralizes 75 Boko Haram and ISWAP insurgents, page 8. NAF FMFL partner on post-service housing, page 8. DIG's Lemu Baba head force administration operations, page 7. Explaining the peculiarities of U.S. presidential election, that's on page 20. And now to the stories beside the masthead and below the masthead. Nigeria has highest owner-manager entrepreneurs. Economist on page 22. U.S. rescue of hostage didn't violate Nigeria's sovereignty, coming from Magashi on page 5. On page 6, Lekki, our CCTV stopped 8 p.m. LCC tells panel. Insists it never tampered with camera. Submits footage. We have no hand in fate of Egypt's ensues protesters, federal government. I became paralyzed after SARS threw me from 2-story building, trader. And finally on page 9, Matawale partners traditional rulers to end banditry. And that is all from the Blueprint newspaper. Right about now we have the Nigerian Tribune. The lead story, Nigeria's debt to hit 38.68 trillion naira in 2021. And this makes all the newspapers this morning. The data is on page 6 and page 7. 873 billion naira released for capital projects. Reps threaten to remove new power projects in 2021 budget proposal. And below that, Egypt to deport NSAS protesters without resident permit. Page 2. Oyo Assembly suspends 13 caretaker chairmen, direct secretaries to take over. Page 30. On missing genitals, youth burn down houses, church in Benue. Page 28. And now to the picture. Inspector General of Police IGP Mr. Mohammed Adamu left, being welcomed by the Lagos State Governor Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu during his courtesy visit to the governor at the Lagos House Marina on Tuesday. And beside that, governors meet today to review internal security defunct SARS looting. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 2. On COVID-19, 65% of returning international passengers dodge test. Next 2 weeks, critical from PTF. All core members to undergo antigen-based test, NCDC, and that's on page 8. Just above the lead story, Senate seeks clarity on 19 million naira international trip by Information Ministry. Police already reformed. Malami, page 25. And on that same page, 17 years after, 11 states yet to enact Child Rights Acts. And above the masthead, federal government must end strike for sake of poor parents, coming from Fayemi. Education Minister has this to say that past government responsible for incessant ASU strike. Page 4. And finally on page 3, on SARS, I was tortured, stripped, had my spinal cord broken. Victim on wheelchair tells panel. Lekki Tollgate CCTV stopped working at 8 p.m. And that is all the Nigerian Tribune has for us this beautiful morning. Let's take a look at the People's Daily. And I'll start with the story just below the masthead. Nation security. SARS disbandment top agenda as governors meet today. Page 6. Zainab Ahmed alleges Power Minister excluded 100 billion naira Mambila Power Project from budget. As federal government seeks NAS approval for a 1.2 billion US dollars agriculture loan. Page 5. The picture from left secretary to the government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa Etunukbe, and chairman coordinating committee on National Council of Traditional Rulers of Nigeria, NCTRN's emergency meeting. Alhaji Yahaya Abubakar and Sultan of Sokoto, and chairman of NCTRN, Alhaji Saad Abubakar III, during an emergency meeting of the National Executive Committee of NCTRN on NSAS protest in Abuja on Tuesday. On page 19, Telecom, $5 billion required to effectively implement National Broadband Plan. And finally, on the bottom strip stories, pages 3, 10, and 6. 8 Nigerians face deportation from Egypt over NSAS protest. On the U.S. election, world awaits outcome as voting reaches midway. COVID-19, PTF has released 50 billion naira to states so far, says official. Zulum in Egypt to visit 5 varsities. Others over Borno's new teaching hospitals. Others. And now, still to come, we have This Day, Daily Trust, Nigerian Pilot, Business Day newspapers to check out their headlines. That's in a moment. Kindly stay tuned.
Every person who is charged with a criminal offense is entitled to defend himself in person or by a legal practitioner of his own choice.
Remember that an individual is entitled to remain silent.
Every citizen in Nigeria is entitled to maintain a private life.
You are approaching a military checkpoint or a police checkpoint without knowing that it's against or it offends them and subject you to a frog jump. That is wrong.
Worthy by design. On this show, we focus on the journey from girlhood to womanhood and everything in between. Worthy by design.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the newspaper headlines live from the ACNN studios. For more of our catch-up programs, please visit our social media platforms all showing on the screen. And do well to download the VM Africa app, or Prime TV or WeTV Africa on any app store to watch us on the go. ACNN TV is now available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Android TV. Now let's take a look at the front page of this day newspaper. The lead story. Anxiety as U.S. voters deliver verdict after beta raise. Page 45. Brace yourselves for duty. IG tells policemen in morale-boosting efforts. Urges NSAS protest attacks should not discourage personnel. LCC submits video footage of Lekki shootings. Says CCTV stopped working at 8 p.m. Judicial panel rejects firm's request to take back toll gates. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 10. Federal government confirms U.S. got permission for hostage rescue mission in Sokoto. That's on page 10 still, while the picture is that of the Lagos State Governor and IGP as earlier seen on the Nigerian Tribune, and is tagged picking up the pieces. The bottom strip story, Lagos threatens fresh lockdown over non-adherence to COVID-19 protocols, page 5. And now let's look at the stories above the masthead. Fidelity Bank posts 21.3 billion naira profit in 9 months. This bosses 50 billion naira intervention funds. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 10. While on page 8, manufacturers list benefits. Challenges of CBN 100 billion naira intervention fund. And that is all this day has for us. Let's see, the Daily Trust has something different. Yes, it does. And the lead story, America might get new president today. You have the picture of Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Get the details on page 5. Ugwanyi orders rebuilding of destroyed mosque in Unsuka, page 6. Kano pedophile backs 7 years with hard labor, page 29. Debt profile to reach 38.7 trillion naira in 2021. Minister, page 21. And the stories below the masthead, just above the lead one, Senate queries Lai Mohammed over 19 million naira travel expenses, page 12. NSCRA petitions IGP, DSS over attacks on Muslims in Southeast and South-South. And that is the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs on page 12. Expert marks see COVID-19 infections in, I beg your pardon. Federal government is saying expect massive COVID-19 infections in 2 weeks. Find out why on page 4. And that is all from the Daily Trust. Up next is the Nigerian pilot. Alright, we'll start with the stories just below the masthead. Hoodlums wearing army uniforms may be behind Lekki shooting. AGF Malami, page 5. The health commissioner says COVID-19, Lagos may reimpose lockdown. And the lead story is tagged restriction. NSAS advocate says immigration stopped her from traveling. Disclosed she was detained, her international passport seized. Federal government disputes claim, says NSAS protesters not on no-fly list. As Egypt set to deport 7 Nigerians who participated in protest. Page 8. A picture. Members of Islamic Movement of Nigeria, otherwise known as Shiites, setting the French national flag ablaze during a protest in Abuja yesterday. Again, LCC tells panel that our camera didn't capture Lekki shooting. Page 6. Oyo Assembly suspends 13 local government chairmen indefinitely. On social media bill, Serap to sue NAS, Northern Governors. Page 10. On NSAS, IGP visit Lagos, says losses unbearable. Page 9. On VAT, Nigeria generates 424.7 billion naira in third quarter 2020. NBS. Ohaneze bemoans Oyigbo killings, blames IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu. Page 12. Finally, on page 8, Finance Minister says Nigeria's debt will hit 38.68 trillion naira in 2021, as earlier seen in the other papers. Let's cross over to Business Day now. Equities provide haven for investors fleeing low bond yields as stocks up 13.7% in October. Page 31. The picture is that of the Director General and CEO, National Information Technology Development Agency, with Governor Katsina State during the governor's visit to the NITDA corporate headquarters in Abuja for collaboration in the area of digital job creation for the Nigerian youths. Explainer, here's why Okonjo-Iweala needs U.S. support for WTO job. Page 31. And the inside story, Lekki shooting, LCC tenders footage, says camera stopped recording at 8 p.m. And finally, from Business Day on page 6, Fidelity Bank records impressive 9-month result as pre-tax profit hits 21.3 billion naira. And that is all from the Business Day, which happens to be the last paper we have this morning. And so, viewers, recall that the development of every nation is in the hands of its citizens, and victory for one is victory for all. We've come to the end of the program, and we want to thank you so much for watching. Until we come your way again, I leave you with this assurance that you are set for a new song, and that song will be very loud for all to hear. To stay blessed and stay true. Bye-bye.